Hello, beautiful souls. Today's episode is so good. And before we jump in, I have some exciting news to share. If you've ever wondered where you're blocking money, this is for you. I've created a free quiz to diagnose your money wounds so you can heal them and unblock yourself to receive more money. Just go to moneywoundsquiz.com and answer 6 quick questions to get your insanely accurate and potent results. And if you're loving my vibe and want to work one-on-one to call in more feminine energy wealth, I would love to hear from you. You can shoot me a DM on social media or go to emilywilcox.com to learn more. Welcome back to the M Makes Money show. I am so excited today because I have the gorgeous Suzy Ashworth here, and she is a mom of 3 beautiful humans, a 7-figure serial entrepreneur, a Hay House author, an international keynote speaker, and a quantum transformation and embodiment coach, and a believer in miracles. She is among a tiny percentage of Black female entrepreneurs to hit the £1 million per year annual revenue mark, and she helps her clients achieve the same. Suzy, welcome to the show.
Yay, thank you so much for having me. I feel like my bio needs to be updated to multi-million or multiple 7 figures. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I know our bios are so interesting because it's like as we go through these identity upgrades, we kind of outgrow them. So yeah, is that revenue amount is feeling small now? How incredible is that?
I wouldn't say small, but it definitely feels good to know that, we've done it more than once now. That feels amazing, actually. I feel very, very grateful, very, very blessed, and looking forward to doing it again.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm really excited to learn just like more about your story and how you got into this line of work.
Yeah, so now I call myself a quantum transformation and embodiment coach, but how I started actually was through hypnobirthing. And so I was in, and before that I was in media sales. So I was in advertising sales for 13 years. And when I had my first child or got pregnant with my first child, I knew that I wanted to be able to say to him, you can do anything that you want. Like the life is yours. You can do anything you want. And when I looked around at what I was doing, I knew that I wasn't doing anything that I wanted. I had something, but it wasn't the thing. And so it took me until I got pregnant with my second to say, okay, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. And so I left my company and I retrained as a hypnotherapist, a psychotherapist, and a hypnobirthing practitioner. And that is really where my entrepreneurial journey started nearly 9 years ago.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Yeah. And there are so many parallels. I did hypnobabies, which is like very similar to hypnobirthing with both of my kiddos. And I too, after having my first, was like, okay, time to play bigger. But didn't actually leave corporate America until after I had my second. Yeah.
Because you have the thought and then you get the maternity and then you feel like you've got to go back and then all of a sudden you're pregnant again and then it's like, no, you could just carry on doing this. And I think the thing is when you have kids, you're like, I don't want to be paid to pay for childcare, to spend no time with my children in a job that is kind of mildly fulfilling. That doesn't make any sense at all. So the fact that often, at least for me, my salary was good, but not good when you have to pay out for 2 lots of childcare.
Right.
So it didn't make financial sense and it didn't make sense to my heart. And so that was a very good, when I left, I wasn't dreaming about making millions. I was just dreaming about my life making sense and finding something that felt more fulfilling. So I really am grateful for the kids for that, amongst many other things, but I wouldn't have left if it wasn't for them, I don't think.
Yeah, I totally hear that. Like talk about, something that reprioritizes your life in a moment.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Okay, so So you left corporate America. You were working as a hypnobirthing professional, a trained hypnotist and therapist. How did that evolve into the work that you're doing today?
So I started off, I had an idea. I did a program called B School, which was run by Marie Forleo. And that program was quite life-changing for me because I knew nothing about online marketing. I knew nothing about the online world. And within 3 weeks of being in that course, I had thought of an idea to create a hypnobirthing program that was online. So there were courses like Hypno Babies that were like, I don't know, like CDs and things, but there was nothing that was actually an online school. And so I had this idea and I approached a friend and said, I've had this idea. Are you interested in going in on it with me? And she said yes. And so we created the world's first video-based hypnobirthing program called the Calm Birth School. And I loved it. I loved it, but in the birth world, people are obsessed by birth. They're obsessed by babies, birth, vaginas, breastfeeding, but like all of the things. And I was like into it, but I wasn't obsessed by it. What I was obsessed by was the marketing. What I was obsessed by was the business building, the brand building, the messaging. And that's what my head was stuck in. And because the Calm Birth School took off very well in the UK, other birth professionals were asking, like, how did you do that? How did you do that? And so I was like, well, I'll show you. And so I started mentoring birth professionals. And the two things that I took really from hypnobirthing was, first of all, you've got to have a vision. You've got to know what you want. And then you need the tools. And so for me, the mindset, like what's the vision? What do you want? And then the messaging, that was the foundation. They were the tools. If you can master your message, then you can enroll people in what it is that you're doing. And if you know where you want to take them, then you can, the sky's the limit. So that's how it started, mentoring birth professionals. And it has just kind of grown from there.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And I love that you had, the insight and the self-reflection to say, like, actually, it's the business building that I really love. And I'll tell you, I spent a little time on your website just getting in the Suzy vibes before this recording. And man, I can see it. Like, your website is so great. I love the messaging. It's like super fun and playful, but it also hooks you in, and it's very magnetizing. So
thank you.
Yeah. So did you ever go through the phase of like charging nothing or nearly nothing for what you did? Or was it like, okay, I made this much in corporate America. This is the number that I like need to make to take care of my babies. So I got to charge.
No. So it's really interesting because the way that I teach people now in business, I did the opposite. So we started off with the Calm Birth School. It was a £97 product. Okay. And it was, one-off sales. We weren't getting repeat business. We were getting referrals, but no repeat business. Yep. And for the first year, for my first year in business, I earned minus £14,000 because I was investing and not earning enough. The second year in business, and I have to say, it took me a year of like, I will earn £5,000. I will earn £5,000. And this is £5,000 a month. That was my dream. And I still have, like your passwords. My passwords are often like my money goals.
Yeah.
And my Vimeo account, it's not directly this, but my Vimeo account is like one of the oldest accounts that I have. And that password still remains £5,000 per month.
I love that.
I'm like, I'm never going to change that one because it reminds me that used to be the goal.
Yeah.
That used to be the goal. And it was really, I talk about this with my clients. I used to get up very early in the morning before my kids would be up because they were both sleepers. And I would walk around my local park and I would just shout affirmations at the top of my voice. Like, you will be a best-selling author. You will do this. You will earn 5,000. And it would make me laugh because every now and again, there was a hospital quite close to where I lived, and there would be people on the night shift on their bikes, like cycling, and all of a sudden we'd like come face to face, and they must have been like, what the heck who is this? Who is this person? And I'd be like, oh. But
like crazy homeless lady wandering park, shouting things.
But I was getting it into my body. So much of what I do and believe in now is about anchoring those beliefs into your bones. And I didn't realize that's what I was doing at the time, but I was anchoring in the belief into my cells. And so yes, that was the time really when I didn't charge very much. And my first programs, I remember having a launch where I made £4,000 off my first program, which was called the Baby Business School. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I thought, wow, I've made a course by myself about business and people have bought it. Wow.
Yeah.
My first mastermind, I charged £500 for 3 months, and we did a VIP day in person at the end. Wow. And I'm like, when I think about that now, but I needed to do that then.
Yes.
Like those programs, those courses, they gave me the confidence to know that I knew what I was talking about.
Yes.
So it was in alignment for where I was.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally hear that. And it's really fun to like still tap into that gratitude, Yeah. I feel like, I've been celebrating my $222 sales as much as I've celebrated, $18,000 days.
100%. It's so funny. I was thinking there was somebody in our mastermind saying, oh, I didn't get paid for 2 days in a row. And I thought, and I looked at my 2 days, and I'd been paid £133 on one day and £133 on the next day. And I celebrated both of those payments.
Yeah.
And the month before, I'd got paid 0 on both of those days. And I was like, ooh, that is so, so good. Last month, I wasn't receiving on those days, and this month I am receiving. And next month, maybe I get to receive even more. It doesn't really matter, but we celebrate the small things. The small things become bigger things all of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And before we fast forward too much on your story, the first year where you made negative 14,000 pounds, had you kind of put together a cushion of savings, knowing that you wanted to leave your day job, or was your partner kind of helping float the bills? Like, what did that look like? Because I know that people will be curious if they're in the same boat of wanting to leave their day job, but like, how is this going to work?
I left whilst I was on, so I started my business. I started retraining whilst I was on maternity leave. And so my company that I worked for had quite a good maternity package. So for you people in the States, it's not so juicy, but in the UK, you kind of get 9 months worth of pay. It's not full pay, but that money was super helpful in that first year. And essentially that is what I lived off of. And then my ex-partner, he wasn't an assistant head teacher, but he was like the head of year in teaching. So his money and my money supported that first year away from work. The first year in business, actual business, was tough and it was scary. And I remember getting to Christmas. So I would have effectively been out of work for almost 2 years at this point, but running my business for a year, and getting to the Christmas and not knowing how I was going to pay for my share of the Christmas presents, because his money was paying for the bills and the food. And him saying to me, like, do you not think that you should be seeing clients one-to-one? And I was really clear that I wasn't in alignment with that. And I was really like, no, I don't. And this was hypnobirthing clients at the time. No, I don't want to do that. It doesn't feel good. Like, I really want to focus on the course, which is kind of fine in theory, except that we were selling a £97 product and it was a we. So I wasn't even getting all of that money, we were splitting it. So really foolhardy, but for whatever reason, I had decided that what I was doing was going to work. And so I was very good at compartmentalizing, and I was very good at having the conversations with my partner from a place of, I know that this worries you and I understand, and I know that it looks completely crazy, but this is what my heart is telling me that I've got to do, and this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So you're either, Denise Duffield Thomas says, you're either on the train or off the train. And at the time he was on the train, and now we're on different trains, but at the time it was hard. It was really hard. And I think the thing about being in the entrepreneurial world is that you have to believe in yourself more than your partner, more than your coach, more than anybody. You have to believe in you, even on the tough days, even on the difficult days. And that first couple of years will always be your toughest.
Yeah.
You know? So for those of you who are struggling right now, I want to say, hang on in there.
Beautiful. Yes. And so was there a point in your business where you really felt like, this is working, like it's really working, and I think this is actually going to, provide for my family for the long term?
Yeah. So it was actually after I had my third child, Aluna, who is now 5. And at that point in time, I was again on maternity leave, but I was trying to squeeze the business into 12 hours a week. And my husband at that time was still working full time. And basically we had an agreement that if I could get to £10,000 a month consistently over 3 months, then he would give up his job. Because at the time he was doing 60, 70 hours a week, incredibly stressed, lots of anxiety. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. You hate your job. I love my job. I'm trying to squeeze everything into 12 hours. You're doing, like, we should swap. I should be able to do full time and you look after our youngest. And it took longer for him to feel comfortable in letting go, but it was after I'd hit the consistent 10K months, and he was like, okay, I'm ready to do it. And so he left, and it was at that point, it was like, okay, like in for a penny, in for a pound, let's do this.
Yeah, that's really significant, because that's not just, hey, this is going to work for me, but wow, now our whole family is reliant. Yeah.
And for me, that pressure of this is on you now was very motivating for me. For some people that will strangle you. Yeah. But for me, that created expansion. It was like, okay, let's see what we can do. Yeah, we've got some time now. Let's play with it. So it was good.
And I'm curious, do you feel like you were pretty balanced in your masculine and feminine energy at that time? Because I think for a lot of women, like being the head of household, having the financial pressure, and legitimately wanting to grow the business really throws you into major masculine energy.
Major masculine energy. Yeah, totally. And it's only been, I would say, in the last 2 years that I've really been focused on redressing that balance. But during that time, it was all guns blazing. I'm gonna hustle. Like it was full on. Like everything that I'd learned in the corporate world, I was applying, like mindset wise, push, force, make it happen. All of that was what was fueling the growth of the business.
Yeah. It's like, just work harder. If I can accomplish this much in 12 hours, imagine what I could accomplish in 40 hours.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that as the numbers get bigger, you realize that it's impossible. You're like, if I earned 200,000 last year, I can't do double the amount of hours to make 400,000.
Right.
And so you have to start thinking differently once you get to certain numbers, because it literally becomes an impossible mathematical feat. So
Yes.
even the masculine brain is like, okay, there's something wrong with with these maths here. So we need to think about it differently. Yeah.
Totally. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I talk about that in the context of the hard money wound, which is like effort equals income.
Yes.
And it's like, we can get to a certain point with a hard money wound because we just hustle.
Yeah, I did.
But but it's true. Then you get to a point where it's like, well, this does not make sense. The math doesn't work. Or even if it does work, it would mean giving up my entire life, my relationship with my kids, my partner, and everything.
Yeah.
There has to be a different way.
There has to be a different way.
Yeah.
And for me, we decided to go to Mexico. And that really was a life-changing decision in so many respects. That was at the beginning of 2019. And I was really like, there's no way that I am going to go and spend a year in Mexico and the kids' memories be, oh, I did this with daddy, I did that with daddy, I did this with daddy, I did that with daddy, and me not be there because I was working all of the time. And so there was a real distinct, 2019 is going to be very different in the way that I approach business. And also it really helped with the time difference, because it meant that at 6 o'clock in the morning in Mexico, it was already 12 o'clock in the afternoon in the UK. And so there was almost a forced time barrier for me. Like at 2 o'clock, the day was absolutely done. And that was super helpful in making me realize that it was absolutely possible to have more time and be in a higher level of receiving mode.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So at that time, when you went to Mexico, what was the revenue in the business?
Yeah, so 2018 was £469,000. And so when I give my numbers, it's all gross turnover.
Yeah.
So £469,000. Then we went to Mexico, and 2019 was £420,000. And that kind of annoyed me. And it's really interesting because you might listen and be like, well, it's because you were working less. It's because you didn't do. I believe that, the way that my revenue had worked, it was minus £14,000, then £125,000, and 226, 469, and then 420. And so I had been used to, once I was on a roll, doubling my income. So 2019 should have been my 7-figure year almost. And what was interesting is that I wasn't mentally prepared to receive 7 figures in 2019. And maybe it's because I had decided, right, we're going to Mexico and it's not possible. But there was definitely a block. And I talk about the fact that I joined a millionaire mastermind 3 years prior to making my first million. And my goals for 2018 was 500,000. My goal for 2019 at the beginning of the year was probably $1 million, but honestly, it was still around the 500,000 mark. And so I had not decided that it was possible for me to work less and earn more.
Yeah.
And when I earned less than what I did in 2018, even though I had a magical year, even though we were chilling in Mexico, it pissed me off, and I decided that 2020 was going to be the year that I made $1 million. And that was the year that we went into lockdown and had a worldwide pandemic. And that was the year that I made $1 million, 1.2 million. So yeah, it was a switch in what I believed was possible for me. And then even though the circumstances in the world absolutely should never have supported me in that shift, I was ready for it. And so I received it.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you shared that. It's really fascinating and really speaks to the places where, you know, we create limiting beliefs, right?
Yeah.
Because if deep down you feel like, I don't think I can relax in Mexico and double my business. Well, then you can't.
Then you can't. No, exactly. And, you know, we spent pretty much the whole of 2020 away, and I tripled my business and I wasn't working. You know, I never worked less and earned more money in 2020.
Yeah. And in speaking to you and, you know, running in the circles that I run in, when you talk to 7-figure earners, when you talk to 8-figure earners, they all speak to this, right? Because they've all broken down the effort for income paradigm.
Yes.
And moved into an impact for income paradigm.
Yes.
So I would venture to say that you impacted way exponentially more people and had more impact on each of those people in 2020.
Yeah. 1 million%. And you know what's interesting is that is the way that I would talk about it. Like, I want to make £1 million worth of impact. And you know, we're creating a 7-figure impact. That's how I used to say it. 7-figure impact business.
Yeah.
And that's what it was about. And I feel that in 2020, especially, my messaging changed. I brought in so much more of the energetic work because I really looked at March happened. The world stopped. My clients were in disarray. I just enrolled 2 programs. And I was like, these predominantly women need me to have my shit together, and they need to feel supported, and they need to know that their businesses, they haven't just made the worst investment at the worst time and their business is going to fail. Never had more success in that, you know, in my years of coaching than that year, because I doubled down on what I really believed I knew in my heart that people needed, which was more energy, more mindset, more understanding of the masculine and feminine. All of the work that I was doing on myself, I was bringing it to my clients, and it was incredible. It was a life-changing year for so many amazing reasons.
Yeah. And it's really cool, the number of stories that exist like that too, right? Where it's like, we decided we were going to do it, and so we did. And even though 2020 made no sense, it all completely worked because it was so transformational. We all experienced a collective traumatic event, which allows for so much radical and permanent change if we allow it.
And I think it would, I mean, who knows, but being in Mexico and having that lead up as well in Mexico, I had done so much healing, so much shamanic work. I had journeyed with plant medicine for the first time. There were so many people and things that shifted me. And it's also when I started doing more work with the quantum field, because up until that point, it had all been mindset, which actually very, even in the wording, very masculine. How can I think my way out of this? And when I did my quantum healing certification, it was, how do we get out of the mind? How do we go beyond the mind? What is happening in the field? And having that spaciousness to know that the miracles are happening. I'm not forcing, I don't have to make the miracles happen.
Right.
They're happening all around me. I just get to align, I get to tune in. All of that had such a profound change, profound impact on me.
Yeah. And so 1.2 million was your gross revenue in 2020. Did you have some team on payroll at that time?
Yeah. So I had 2020 was the year that the team grew a lot. So now we just had a team meeting on Monday and we have 9 people. So we would have had between 5 to 6 people.
Okay.
And I would say that the most instrumental people on my team were my assistant and my then online business manager. And we worked together for a year. She changed my life. She was the person who allowed me to work so much less. Like, she took on so much of what I was doing. And when you get to that stage in business where you allow other people to support you, you always think to yourself, like, how did I do all of this? How did I do all of the PayPal links, all of the Stripe links, all of the lead pages, all of the thank you pages, all of the email? Like, I was doing it. Like, no wonder I was in full-on hustle mode for 3-4 years, because I was literally doing everything. And then I allowed myself to be supported, and then we grew. Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up a great point too, because when people talk about, like, I worked less and I made more money, it can sound really magical, or it can sound like complete BS, depending on how you receive it. But it's like, well, there's a very logical reason for it.
Yeah, I had a team.
That's right.
It's not magical unicorn dust.
Yeah.
Having said that, depending on your business model, so my business model is group coaching programs, and that's what I help people create, launch and sell your own transformational group coaching program. If you are working one-to-one, actually, you can just choose to, like, I've had clients who were doing calls every week, and we changed it to every other week. And when they first started, they were charging £5,000 for 3 months. Now they're charging £40,000 for the year. So with those people, actually, they literally are working less and they're earning more because they're giving themselves permission to charge more for their genius.
Yes.
So it is possible to do that. It just depends on your business model.
Yeah. It's true. I completely agree. And I think, talking about the energetics, which we brought up, when you hire a team, it's like you're doing physically less work, but you're doing more inner work, because in order to receive, in order to step into leadership, in order to lean back and watch it be done differently than you would do it, like, it's all hard work. It's just inner work instead of the building of the lead pages and the sending of the links and the doing all of the things you were doing before.
You're also managing all of their energies.
Yes.
And everything that you enroll a client into, you're enrolling your team into. You're enrolling them into the vision, because they become conduits for your energy. If they're blocked, you're blocked.
Yeah.
So there is a whole lot of different work that is being done, for sure.
Yeah.
And where I am now, I've just hired the equivalent of a COO. She will take on a lot of that clearing and making sure that people are unblocked, so I can step into a new level of visioning and strategizing and expansion for the brand, which I can't do holding 14 other energies. Or 9 other energies, so it's, you're in a fun place, and I can't wait to see how much you grow when this person is, like, truly in place as a leader, because for us, when we put an operations manager in place, because before, it doesn't matter how many people on your team, for the most part, they're all reporting up to you. Yes.
And then the operations person becomes kind of a gatekeeper for your time and energy. And they get to be the one to make sure that everything is playing well and problem solving, between the people, between the roles. And it's like the most magical thing ever.
I cannot wait.
So I feel like your business is going to go through another exponential transformation. But as it is, right? Are you on track for 2 million this year?
Yeah, we have done just over 1.5 million in cash and 1.9 million. It might be 1.95 million in sales, which is just crazy. We did 1.8 million in sales last year. So and I have a feeling, my feeling is that between now and the end of this year, which is going to be 2021, whenever you listen to this, we're planting so many incredible, I feel like 2022 is going to blow my mind. I am so excited about it.
Yes. Yeah, because the momentum continues to build. And so it's like, at the same time that you're receiving more cash, you're also just planting so many more seeds. Yeah. You're reaching so many more women who may not buy until next year, or
so true. So
whenever their aligned timing is, but the momentum is already in play.
The momentum. And you know what? I like to say that we are the generator and the conduit. And with momentum, I picture it almost like just a big ball. And conversations like this build the momentum, you know. And sometimes when I don't want to be in building mode, all I need to do is sit back, relax, and just allow the momentum to carry me. So I can either just be a channel for it, or I can build it up. And I think that knowing that is just so helpful, you know, like nothing needs to be happening. My 133-pound days were like yesterday and the day before, but the energy that I hold is the energy that I hold, you know, and it's in that energy that the magic is being made. When you're early on in your business, like a 133-pound day or a £0 day, it feels stressful. It feels like it's never going to happen. It feels like, oh, but what if it happens again the next day and the next day and the next? And it's like, no, that is not, you get to let go of that. And that is what I was very good at doing in the early days, is not believing, because on my spreadsheets, I track my money every day. On my spreadsheet, it was like, no, 97, no, you know, all of the days. And then such a short time later, it's like £200,000 months, you know. It's incredible. It gets to be like that for you. And I think that the first 2 years, it can feel like it's not going to happen. But listen to these podcasts, listen to the people, listen to these interviews and be inspired, because we're not magical. We're all magical and nobody's magical, you know, that's it.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, with where your business is now, where you're trending toward your first £2 million year, I would love for you to just talk a little bit about what wealth feels like right now, where it still feels maybe a little sticky, because I think often we feel like I'm going to get to this certain number and I'm just going to feel insanely rich. Like, why even make more money? I'm completely good. All of my money mindset problems have been solved. So talk to me about how it feels for you.
So wealth feels like being able to choose in a way that I've never been able to choose before. You know, there are many, many things now that I get to enjoy and not worry about. And that feels really great. It feels really incredible when I took my kids on holiday for the first time on our own, to be in the most beautiful villa, for them to be able to say, can I have these swimming goggles? And we'd be like, yeah, of course. You know, just, yeah, of course. Just, yeah, it's fine. And there were times when it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
There were times, many, many times where it wasn't like that. That feels like real wealth. And I love that. Where it feels sticky is that, you're right. You can get to a certain number and everybody's number will be different. And there'll be a voice in your head that's like, well, why do you need any more? Like, why do you need to keep doing this? You could easily have an incredible life earning $1 million a year. Like, why do you need more? And the answer is that you don't need. And my expansion lies in knowing that it's okay not to need. And it's okay. It's more than okay to live into my desires, you know? And lots of the time, you know, I work with this on clients and I have to work with it on clients because obviously it's a reflection of where I am. It is that place of, am I really content? Can I be content and want more? Can I be content and want more? And the answer is yes. Like, to desire more is in our DNA. You know, I believe that we are all individual expressions of Source, and Source is the creator. Source is just creating. You look at nature, nature is just creating. It's not like, I'm going to limit myself to, the tree doesn't say, I'm going to stop here. It just continues to grow. And expansion is growth. And for me, what I am learning and leaning into, and what has been so helpful, even in the last couple of months, is expanding the vision. And so I used to talk about, and still do, wanting to be part of a tidal wave of positive impact. You know, often people talk about the ripple effect. And for me, I don't want to be part of the ripple. I want to be part of the tidal wave. And where that's been expanded to is that the work that I do touches people who might never know my name. And that, for me, whilst it might be true in some aspects now, that piece at the end feels so much bigger. And that feels really juicy and exciting. And that feels like that gets to be my story. And so the number that I was playing around with at the beginning of the year is 10 million. Like, I want to create an 8-figure business. And when I put that in the context of that mission, a tidal wave of positive impact that touches people who might not ever know my name, that 10 million is a drop in the ocean. And so that feels so expansive and juicy and exciting, and is not about how much money I've got in my bank account. I know that I'm always going to be well looked after. I know that my family get to be well looked after, but that money is representative of the story of creating impact that touches people on a global scale. And so 10 million, which might sound like a lot to some people, for me is like, that's just the beginning. We haven't even got started at 10 million. And I'm excited for that journey. Yeah. I love how you beautifully painted that picture. And I think it's very similar to, what is it, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where often the amount that we think is what we need, it is a need, right? Yeah. So it's the amount where we're thinking about our survival is taken care of, our safety is taken care of. And what you're painting a picture of is, yes, and once that happens, it actually opens up a huge world of possibility that's so much bigger than my needs and my bank account. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, just to talk a little bit more on the sticky pieces, because you were very helpful with this for me. And I realized that in order for me to fulfill that 8-figure company, one of the things I have to let go of is being visible and allowing people to see my success. And there is, what did you call it? The evil wound? The evil money wound. Yeah, the evil money wound. And even at this level, you know, people will think, oh, if you're earning 7 figures, you don't have a money is evil wound. And it was so funny, like really just unpicking why don't I want to feel visible in this way? Why don't I want to share about this part of my success? Why don't I want to celebrate this? Oh, it's because I don't want to be seen as one of those disgustingly rich people who are completely selfish or completely up themselves or completely whatever it is. I don't want to be seen as those people. So I want to just keep myself below the radar. I want to keep myself looking very humble. I can spend on some things, but we don't want anybody to see it. That has to go in order for me to really step into that 8-figure Suzy with ease and grace without the push. So that's, some of the stuff that I'm playing with right now.
Yes. And thank you so much for sharing that, because it's true. Like our money wounds stop shouting at us and they start whispering.
Yes.
And so it's like for you, it was just this little whisper of, it feels really good to drive an older vehicle.
Yeah.
Can I actually book the nicest villa for vacation with my kids? It's not a business expense.
Yeah.
It's like the little whispers where you have to say like, hang on a second.
Yeah.
What's really going on here?
Exactly. I say it's the micro refinements.
Yes.
You get to a stage where it's not like big, old, very obvious money blocks. It's like the micro refinements will make all of the difference.
Yeah. Yes. And I love that you're connecting that to your mission, because, it really is true. Like that 10 million is quite a small amount in the grand scheme of things, and it can also feel big inside of our body when we're holding on to a fear of judgment and a fear of what it might mean about us to earn that.
Yeah. And
so it really is just these little refinements so that you can come into alignment with that vision.
Yeah.
Well, I am like so excited to and like honored to be on the journey with you. It's really fun. And I know that everyone listening is going to want to follow along and like stay connected with you as well. So can you talk to us about where you hang out on the internet and where people can find you?
Yes. So I mainly play in the Quantum Success Hub for Conscious Leaders over on Facebook, which is my free Facebook group. And then on Instagram, you can find me on Suzy, SUZY_Ashworth. And my website is suzyashworth.com.
Beautiful. And for everyone listening, if you want to take a screenshot as you're listening, tag Suzy and I, let us know what your key revelations were, what you took away from this conversation, and go follow Suzy. She's incredible. If you haven't already realized, she's got so much magnetism. She totally has the voice of a hypnobirthing professional. And she's doing big things in the world. So Suzy, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been a blast.
Yes. All right. And we will come again soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. Changing the way we think, feel, and talk about money will change the world. I truly believe that. It starts with you tuning in, and it spreads when you share this show on Instagram and Facebook and tag me at @mmakesmoney. And you know what moves the needle the most? Taking just a minute to leave a 5-star review on iTunes. This show isn't free to produce, so let's multiply those dollars invested to help this show reach a bigger audience each week. Thank you so much for your help. I really appreciate it. And lastly, if you want more connection, more M Makes Money style riffs, and a safe place on the internet to talk about money, jump into my free Facebook group, The Money Club. It's linked in the show notes. Until next time, I'm wishing you health, happiness, and boatloads of money.